Guys, welcome back to the Lifted podcast. We have Brin here. Brin is an online coach. I stalked her actually on Instagram, and that's how we met. So welcome, Brin.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to skip the bullshit and we're going to go straight into tell us about your last relationship.
I've had lots of toxic relationships, but this was like the one. So we met in middle school. I was 13 and he was 14. And he was a little bit of a bad boy. And
We love the bad boys.
We love the bad boys. So I came from a more strict religious home. And so this was very exciting for me for, the bad boy of the middle school to have a crush on me. And he messaged me on Facebook one day and he was like, hey, like, I can't remember exactly what he said because I was 13 years old, but yeah, he messages me on Facebook and we're talking over Facebook and we meet up at school and, everything seems really great. I don't know how many times we met up, but that's basically where we met, was in middle school.
Was in middle school?
Mm-hmm.
You guys dated for how long?
So it was on and off for 10 years.
10 years?
10 years.
And you would say this is like a toxic relationship?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when did the red flags start?
Well, there's many. So it basically started right off of the get-go.
With him being a bad boy,
It
was just obvious.
Exactly, yeah. Like, it was well known in the school that he was a little bit of a bad boy. So I was like, yes, that's so hot.
You're like, I'm 13. This is exactly what I want.
Exactly, yeah.
Like mid-puberty, just like, yes, this is what I need.
Yeah.
It's what you need.
When I was 13, that was like the year of like realization that there was a lot more out there than just like what I knew.
Yeah.
And it was like, there was boys, there was weed, there was like interesting things. So yeah, the red flags. So like I said, they started right away. And the first one was, so we ended up skipping 3 classes at school. And of course the school called my parents and they were pissed. Because, like, this was, like, the first time that I had got in trouble for something, like, actually a little bit more serious. Like, I was always a little bit of a goody two-shoes, you could say.
I could relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, everything. Like, to the point where, like, the teacher would, like, the first person to, like, do this gets, like, a reward or something, or is, like, best in the class. I was always the first one to do it. I was like, I gotta kiss some ass, Yeah. Like, I can relate.
Or, like, when the teacher forgets about the homework and you're like, oh, like, what about the homework assignment?
That was me.
Yeah, I can relate to that. So this was all very new and exciting to me. So we skipped 3 periods of school and they called my parents. They were pissed. And I just got a warning from them, but they ended up suspending him because, like, he had already done, like...
He had a record.
Like,
he was out.
Yeah. Exactly. So they were like, no, thank you. We're suspending you. And I was basically grounded. And I remember I was supposed to go to band camp. Or it was, it wasn't band camp. It was, we were going to Edmonton to play for the legislation building. Anyways, my mom was like, you're not going to that anymore. Like, you're grounded, blah, blah, blah. And then she ended up letting me go because that was time away from Randy. We're going to call him Randy.
Randy.
That's
Love
a fake name.
Fake name.
We
need it.
So anyways, so because of that, my parents hated him right away. And it escalated from there.
And that was the beginning, right?
That was like the very beginning.
So you were 13, he was 14. You were skipping school for this guy.
I was skipping school for this guy.
For Randy.
Yep, for Randy.
Crazy. Okay.
And I don't remember too much from middle school just because, like, because he was 14 and he was going into high school. I still had another year left at the school. So we had a lot of falling outs over like the 10 years. Like it was very on and off. And so everything's super choppy. But I remember that we would like hang out during the summer, I think leading up to high school. Yeah, I think like leading up to high school. And I don't remember too much from then. But as I got into high school, that's where things get a little bit more crazy.
Tell us.
So he starts asking me for pictures, like nude photos.
Nudes, yeah.
And he's like, if you send these, like, I'll love you, basically. Like, that's what I had to do to have him love me. And like, I was so desperate for it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was so desperate for like his love, but like, I think because he was like, you know, a bad boy and like.
And you're young.
Yeah.
Like when you're in high school, like even going into high school, just like from grade 9 to 12. I don't know how the grades work here. Is it 9 to 12 high school? Yeah.
Or sorry, 10 to 12.
10 to 12?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So 10 to 12, you're so naive. Like you are so like, whatever you say, like I'll fucking do it. I don't care.
Yeah.
I will send you nudes if that's if you're going to love me, you know? Because we don't really know. We're like, we have no idea how a relationship works. We just do it.
Ugh, and that was
gross.
like my mindset during the whole thing. Like, because I came from a sheltered home and like, I never really had those kind of conversations with my parents about like dating boys or like what not to do or what to do, just because it was basically like the only thing I knew was no boys until you're like 16, and I was like 15 at this age, but that's all I knew, so I didn't know.
Yeah. And you kind of like coming from that, like I'm not sure how, like were you really religious when you were growing up?
I wouldn't say like super religious. It was just like, that's just like what I knew. That's what I grew up with. And then when I was 13, that's when I was like, I don't know if I align with this.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like really wanting to like experiment with things with like boys. And that's when I started smoking weed. Way too young. Don't smoke weed when you're 13.
Do you still smoke? Side note.
For bed.
Yeah.
But like not recreationally.
Yeah.
I need it to sleep, otherwise I don't sleep. Yeah, so
yeah, more red flags.
So yeah, he asked for pictures, and I knew he was getting pictures from like other girls in like schools. Like it was just like a known thing. I don't know how I knew, but I knew. And what's interesting,
wait, he was getting pictures from other girls?
From other girls, yeah, and asking me, like, he had pictures of everybody.
Oh my God, while you were dating him?
Yeah, like
kind of complicated vibes.
It was complicated, yeah, because like it was never an official like, will you be my girlfriend? It was just like,
yeah,
we're together. So what's interesting is like, even though these red flags were like so obvious and they were right in front of me, I chose to ignore them all.
Yeah.
For literally the longest time. And I don't know why I chose to, but I think I was just, again, super desperate. And like, that's what I believed I deserved at the time. So getting into more red flags.
Also, just for anyone that's listening and not watching this, you have a notebook in front of you, which is so why did you bring a notebook? Like, did you write it all out last night? Like what? Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a notebook here, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and a half pages worth of bullshit. Because obviously over 10 years, lots of stuff happens, and I suppressed a lot of those memories. And so I really had to try and dig deep into the files of my brain.
Just for us.
Just for you guys.
All for us.
So, yeah, so I really wanted to be loved by this guy. So I sent the pictures. Yeah, it's crazy that I did it so young, but I feel like we were like the first generation to like experiment with like sending nudes.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate because we never really, because where we were like when we were 13 to like 16-ish, 13 to maybe 17, that was like, okay, we just got a phone probably. Like I remember I got my phone in like grade 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, now I've got to learn this fucking phone. Now I've got all these gross dudes asking me for nudes. Do I send them?
Yeah,
do
like,
I not send them?
Like, is this
a normal fucking thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it's so confusing. It is
Mm-hmm.
so confusing. Then there's always some girls' nudes that get leaked like all over high school.
Me.
Or like, did yours? Stop.
How'd you find out? People would tell me.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, super embarrassing.
Fuck. Okay, let's get to more red flags.
Okay, so like I said, we had a lot of falling outs over the 10 years. And I remember there was one case where he dumped me over Twitter.
Over Twitter?
Over Twitter.
How do you even dump someone over Twitter?
I don't even know. I'm like, how do you get dumped over Twitter? There has to be an award for that.
Oh my God. Like, do you tweet that?
Yeah.
Or can you send messages over Twitter? Do I just not know how to use Twitter?
So what it was, I'm like trying to remember because it was so long ago, but it was like we would send tweets and it was like we didn't at each other, like we didn't mention each other, but it was like we knew that we were talking about each other in our tweets. And then like there was one that he said where it was like I don't even remember, but it was something along the lines of like me getting dumped. So I was like, cool. God. Dumped over Twitter.
You're like, great.
That's really awesome. So yeah, that was really fun. And this relationship obviously was toxic right from the beginning. And when I was with this guy, I turned into like a very mean and arrogant person. I didn't like who I was, but like obviously at the time I didn't care.
Yeah.
But that's something that my best friend noticed, is that I just turned into this big meanie, basically. So she didn't like him. My parents hated him. Literally everybody in my life did not like this guy. But I chose to ignore that because my mindset was like, I'm going to do whatever I want. I don't care whatever anybody says or thinks, whatever. So I started high school, and I was dating this guy. We're going to call him Isaiah. Fake name.
Got it.
And yeah, so I started dating this guy, and like we probably weren't like dating for a very long time, and like maybe like a month or two in it. And I was going home. I was going home on the bus, and I saw Randy on the bus. I was like, oh my gosh, look who it is. It's Randy. And so I go sit with him. I find out that he lives very, very close to me, which was a problem. So I ended up meeting up with him because we started talking again as I was dating this guy. And I did cheat on him, and he knows that. Well, basically what happened was I cheated on him, and then Randy found out, and he called me, and he's like, you better tell him or I will. So I was like, fuck. I'm like, fair enough.
You're like, well, someo's got to tell him.
Somebody's got to tell him. So I actually don't remember who ended up telling him. I can't remember if it was me or him. But he did find out, and he was obviously upset. And we talked about it, and for some reason, he wanted to stay with me, and I agreed. And so I stayed with him. And then Randy was a little bit of a problem during the relationship. He would try to start, like, fights with... Oh, shit. Sorry, that was his real name. Cut. Oops. So he wanted to start fights with Isaiah.
Yeah.
And they actually never ended up happening. It was always just like a threat to like come beat him up or something.
Just like, I'm gonna fight you.
I'm
but
gonna
like
fight
never
you.
happened.
But never happened. Yeah. Cause like I remember that there was a meetup time and everything, and it just didn't end up happening.
Yeah.
I think he just didn't show up.
Of course.
Coward. So yeah, that was a little bit of that relationship with Isaiah. And then obviously I do regret cheating on him because that's a really shitty thing to do. We're on good terms now. We're friends now, which is pretty cool. Not Randy, with Isaiah. Just to clarify. So me and Isaiah, we dated for like just over a year. And then I ended up breaking up with him. And I went straight back to Randy. And this is where it gets really crazy. So I am like 16 at this point, and this is when hard drugs get introduced. So it was New Year's Eve of 2014, and that was the first time I tried Molly. And there was also cocaine, ketamine. Those are probably the main ones. Like the only ones, really. So he ended up with a pretty bad like cocaine problem, like to the point where he bragged about losing some of the cartilage in his nose from doing so much coke.
Jesus.
Yeah. Like he literally showed me a photo of like the cartilage from his nose. Like it was fucking gross.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I wasn't any better because I definitely had a little bit of a problem with Molly because I ended up doing it every weekend, and then
starting at 16.
Holy
shit.
Yeah. And then I remember spring break of 2014, it was every day, which is so disgusting. Like literally when I think about it, like it makes me so anxious.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm like, how did I just, like, I didn't even think about it. I was just like, yeah, this is just
normal. This is just what everyone does.
This is what I'm doing.
Wow.
Like, not a thought, not a care. So, yeah, that was interesting.
Do you think that the way that you were, like, brought up almost and your parents saying no to a lot of stuff, do you think that that could have an impact on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because, like I said, coming up from a more sheltered home life and, like, not having experienced things or, like, even just having that conversation, it was just, like, a free-for-all, basically.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like I was rebelling just because of, like, I didn't want to be in this religion. Like, I didn't care for it. It's just, like, it wasn't part of who I was. And so I was just experimenting with all the things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely had a problem with Molly. It would get to the point where I would go to the mall to meet up with my friends, and I'd be high on Molly.
Oh my God. Being someone that like only tried it like what, a year or two ago, maybe 3 years ago, that just sounds crazy to me. But like, no, I'm not saying that you're crazy. I'm just like, to me, I'm fucked. Like, I'm such a little Molly virgin. Like,
oh God, yeah. I don't do drugs anymore, by the way. So yeah, it like, I don't know. I think just because of him, because he introduced it to me.
Well, it really is who you're around.
Exactly.
It's who you're around. It's like also not just like not being educated at all on it. Like nobody really talks about hard drugs and shit. Yeah. They're just like, don't do drugs. And
especially
you're like,
at 16.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's just like, you have zero idea of like, should I not be doing this with my friends at the mall? Should I be doing it with my friends at the mall?
Exactly.
Like, you know,
like this seems like a really good idea. Let's do it. Terrible idea. So yeah, that was a problem, and I would always buy it off of him. He's just like, I don't know how he got it or where he was getting it from, but it was there, and I was
It was available.
It was available.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an interesting time. There's this one time where I thought it was like a line of Coke, and I do it and I was like, this doesn't seem like Coke. And then he's like, haha, that's Oxy.
You're like, that's so funny.
I'm like, why is that? What? Like,
why are we laughing about this?
Exactly. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
hey, if, like, who knows what else he'll do that with?
Oh, yeah.
And again, like, these red flags were so obvious to me, but I ignored it once again. So,
I mean, sounds like you're having the time of your life, though. Like, looking back, I'm sure you're like, what the fuck was I doing? But at that time, you're probably like, this is great.
Yeah. At the time, I was like, this is the best ever. I am having so much fun. And thinking about it now, I'm just like, oh my God, if I could just like go back in time and tell myself to not be an idiot. Like, what are you doing?
It's okay. You didn't know.
I didn't know. I didn't know anything. I thought I knew everything. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy to think that was 10 years ago now. I'm 26 now. So
26 gang.
Yep. So some other things that he did was, so I like always had cash on me. Not very much, but like I just always had it on me just in case. And for some reason, he always needed my cash. He's like, I need it for my phone bill, or like I need it for just stupid things. But this was the guy that like wore True Religion jeans. Like he had like all the fancy things, like the latest iPhone, expensive clothes. So I'm like, why am I giving you money? Again, I ignored it. If anybody's familiar with RuneScape.
Yes.
It's a PC game, and he somehow convinced me to pay for his RuneScape. And so it's supposed to just be like a couple of dollars, like $10-20 a month or something like that. And I would see charges on my card. It was like $50 here, $80 here, another $60, $50. And I'm just like,
what are you buying on RuneScape?
What could you possibly be spending your money on RuneScape?
I didn't even know you could pay for it.
Apparently. So I messaged him. I was like, what are you doing? Like, I work part-time at Hollister. I can't afford this.
I don't have any cash. Why are you taking all my money?
Why are you taking all my money?
Not even like waitress or anything, just Hollister.
Just
like,
Hollister.
Fuck.
Yeah, I was like 16, 17 at this point. So I told him, I'm like, you better cancel your account like right now. Like, I cannot afford this.
Cancel your RuneScape.
Cancel your RuneScape, dude. So I waited for him to cancel it, and he didn't do it. So I canceled it for him. And so the next time he tried to log on to RuneScape, there was no account. And he messages me. He's very upset. And he's like, that's the only joy I had. Like, what did you do? Like, I'm going to kill myself. Like,
oh my God.
He literally threatened to kill himself because I deleted his RuneScape.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Psychopath. And I wasn't even fazed by it because like I knew he was just like bullshitting me. I was like, whatever, dude. Like,
you're like, I've dealt with this for years. I know you.
Exactly. Like
stop.
None of this was a surprise to me. And I think we stopped talking after that for a bit. Yeah. So I was in grade 12 at this point, and we somehow started talking again.
Of course.
The thing about toxic relationships is like, people wonder like how, like why do you stay in a relationship like that? And you don't really know until you're in it.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to get out of because they're really good at manipulating you. And usually they prey on people that are really vulnerable. And I was very vulnerable because I had very low self-esteem. I grew up in a religious household, so I was just like I don't know. I don't know anything.
Yeah, just super vulnerable.
Yeah, I was very vulnerable. And so I was still doing drugs up at this point. And I remember this one time I was hanging out with some friends and we were going to meet up with Randy and we were doing Molly like all freaking night. Like, I can't even tell you how much we did. It's like a disgusting amount. I'm surprised I'm alive.
Wow.
So we end up meeting up with him and he brought another girl with him. I was like,
stop.
How? What is even happening right now? And so I had the intentions of staying at his place that night because obviously we were fucked up. I wasn't going to go home fucked up. So I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? And at this point, I didn't even know who I was with, like friends-wise. Like I was with this one girl. I don't know. She ended up leaving at some point. I was so messed up though. So I literally had no idea what was going on. And so I was like, am I going to end up homeless this night?
Oh my
like,
God.
what is happening? And one of his friends that we were with, he ended up letting me stay at his place. And so I don't even know what time of day this was. So we went to his house and I remember laying on his bed and he's kind of like in front of me. And like he leans in to make a move on me. And I literally cover my face like this. I was like, no, like I'm not even on this planet right now. Like, don't. And I'm like upset that Randy brought this random girl.
And now Randy's friend is trying to kiss you.
So I was like, he was pissed. Not Randy, the friend that he didn't
Randy's
get.
friend. Yeah.
Randy's friend.
He didn't get lucky.
He didn't get lucky.
Poor guy.
So he left the room and I remember I was just like laying in the bed. I was like, God, I have to get out of here. So yeah, that was a really interesting night.
Also, fuck Randy for bringing another girl.
Like, who does that?
Yeah.
Like,
did he?
He knew I was gonna be there.
You're like, dude, like, and now I'm tripping on Molly, and now I'm gonna have a bad trip because
I did.
Yeah,
it was really bad.
Like, thank you, Randy. Thanks.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy.
It was so insane, and like, again, like these are the red flags that I would just like ignore.
Yeah.
And like it was right in front of me. Like, what are you doing? But it was just like I was almost desensitized to it.
Yeah.
I just wasn't even phased. Like, I was phased, but it was just kind of like,
here we go again, and then just go back into it. 100%.
The amount of times I wrote "here we go again" in my book.
Here we fucking go again.
Here we go again. So that was one of those times. And so there was another time. So Randy was tagging this girl on Facebook and like some things, because on like Facebook, like sometimes you can see in your newsfeed that like this person tagged this person in this post.
Yeah.
So I saw that he was tagging this girl and I was like, interesting. And so I messaged him. I'm like, who's this girl? And he's like, no one, it's just a friend. I'm like, okay, sure.
We'll believe you, Randy.
We'll believe you, sure. And I don't know how much time in between this was, but he ends up going to Vancouver and he's like Snapchatting me from Vancouver, and I can see that he's like on a girl's bed. Like, he's Snapchatting me from another girl's bed in Vancouver. And I was like, that's just Randy.
That's just normal.
Yeah.
Oh,
just God. Desensitized. I ignored it. I didn't say anything. And then he came back. And then again, I don't know how much time in between this was, but he was like, I won't be able to talk for a few days. I have some family coming over. I'm like, okay, sure. Sure.
Weird.
You can't talk to me because you have family coming over? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously I didn't feel good about this. And I decided to do some investigating. So I went to this girl's, the one that he had been tagging in on Facebook. I went to her Visco account, if anybody remembers Visco.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw the most recent picture that she posted. She was wearing his watch, and I could see his bed sheets in the background. So I was like, okay, family, sure. And so I call him out on it. I'm like, I thought you said family was coming over. Like, what is this? And he's like, she's basically family.
Oh my God.
I'm like, okay.
Are you kidding?
No. And again, it's like the amount of times he did this kind of shit to me. And I would just like, it was weird because I was never really like super hurt about it. He would just do it and I'd be like, oh.
Just like an eye roll. Like,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Again, just so desensitized to it.
But like with him being like, I mean, starting from 13 to now, it's like you don't really have a grasp on like what a relationship should be and how you should be treated. So realistically, you're probably like, this is fine.
Yeah.
Like this is actually okay. You know?
Yeah, that's true because that was like my first experience with like a relationship.
And at that point, we don't really believe anyone else. Like we kind of from like 13 to like 18, I was kind of in my rebel phase too. Like especially like 16 to like 19, I was just
16
a shithead.
is like the year.
You're like drinking vodka out the bottle. Yes. Like it's stupid. But yeah, when you're in that phase, like people are telling you shit and like telling you stuff about your relationship, telling you that you like he's a bad guy and he shouldn't be doing this, but you're like, fuck off. What do you know?
Yeah.
You know, you don't listen to anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like I had to experience this stuff like for myself. Like nobody could tell me what to do. Like not even my friends, my family. It was like I am gonna navigate this by myself. And I don't give a fuck what anybody says or think. So, yeah, I was just so desensitized to it all. And I think because we started from such a young age, that's just what was normal to me. I thought this was like, I guess this is what a relationship is.
This is so normal.
Wow,
he should be doing
so
that.
Nice.
He should be getting nudes from every girl in high school.
I feel so loved.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah, so there were a lot more things. Some of them being he would pull my pants down in front of his friends to show off my ass.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
get
like,
it, Randy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane. And you were just like fine with it.
Like I definitely like I let it happen, but like I knew deep down that I felt like so humiliated.
Yeah.
That this guy that I thought loved me would pull my pants down in front of his friends. And I was just like, yeah, at the time. But like now when I think about it, I was like, damn.
Like that's
poor thing.
It's like you look back and like I'm like, that's crazy, but realistically it's not, because you just like at that age you just have no fucking idea. Like it's so, you can just be in the most toxic relationship and you can have people doing that.
Yeah.
And you're just like, this is fucking normal.
Yeah. And I think the problem with me was like, because I was just so young and impressionable that I just like, I let it happen.
Yeah.
So, and of course, like the desperation for this guy to like love me, and like, even though he treated me like shit, I was like, I love this guy.
Did that shit like keep you up at night though? Because like I remember, okay, so I had this ex in high school, shithead, complete shit, like cheated on me multiple times for sure. But like I feel like when I look back, there was multiple times where like I thought the world was ending with this guy, you know, because you don't really know anything else. You're kind of like, if you guys break up, like the world is ending. Like, did you feel that, or were you kind of like, I don't care?
I was kind of like on the I don't care spectrum, because like we had so many falling outs already, and it was like, it was just so normal.
It was bound to happen.
It was bound to happen. It was like a ticking time bomb. I'm like, there's going to be another time where we fall out and then we're going to get back together again. And it was just, it was routine.
Yeah.
It was routine.
It was comfort.
Comfort.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was comfort. Even though I dated people in between, he was the one that I always went back to because, again, it was comfort.
Yeah.
So yeah, he pulled my pants down. Some other things that he did.
Like the red flag list just goes on.
There's so many things. Like, I spent probably 3 hours writing stuff down of all the bullshit. So another thing was that he did get a little bit physically abusive. He would choke me.
Wow.
And I would remember like I don't know what led up to it. I just remember like being choked and then being like, what the fuck was that? Like that was weird. That was scary.
Like kind of in shock after.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. That's exactly what it was. I was just like in shock. I was like, did this guy just choke me? And thankfully, it didn't get any worse than that. Like he didn't like beat me or anything, but I have heard from like other girls that he's been with that he's beat them.
Whoa.
Do you know, are we dating the same guy, YYC, on Facebook?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Entertaining.
Very entertaining.
Yeah.
So I saw him on there multiple times, and apparently he's married now, and he's still being a fuckhead. So he's on Are We Dating the Same Guy, YYC. And so when I saw him, I saw some girls like posted or they commented under the photo of like their experience with him. And I'm like reading this shit and I'm like, holy fuck. Like this guy should be in jail.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like one of them, so like one of the girls, like he beat them. Another one, like she had to get like the cops involved. I can't remember everything that it said, but I just remember being like, wow, like I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately mine was 10 years.
But it sounds like you got out lucky. I mean, yeah, emotionally abusive and everything like that too, but like for him to have, that's crazy. That's so scary. I
know. I'm like, thank God I didn't get beat. I could have gotten beat.
Yeah. No, honestly.
Not that like choking is any better, but it never escalated from that. So
was it only the one time?
There was a couple of times. Yeah. Oh. There was a couple of times. And like it was just always just kind of like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah, like complete shock. Yeah. Like what just happened?
Every time.
Yeah.
He didn't do it that much, but like there was a few times that I remember where I was like, okay. All right. If that's what you like to do. He egged my house.
He egged your house.
He egged my house.
Who does that?
The Randy.
That's the reddest flag ever.
Like, why are you egging my house, bro? So I knew it was him because so he had a friend that like drove this white truck. Yeah. And I remember I think it was my sister that like heard this like bang on the house and she was like, whoa, what the heck? And then she like looked outside and saw this like white truck drive away. And then I think she went to like go outside because she heard the bang and she wanted to see what it was. And it was fucking eggs. Eggs.
That's insane.
I was like, white truck? I wonder who that was. And even my family, they were like, it's probably Randy.
They knew.
They knew. So yeah, that happened as well. He also bragged about trying to burn down our middle school. And bragged, yeah, like he was like proud of it that he tried to burn down the school. So, and I knew this was true because I remember seeing on the news my middle school was like half burnt down. And it's funny because when I was watching it, I was like, it's probably Randy.
Oh my God.
It's probably Randy.
Like,
And my sister, she made a funny joke. She was like, this is for Britland. It burns down the school.
Oh my God.
So yeah, he tried to do that. And I knew he wasn't lying because he showed me videos of him in the process of trying to burn down the school.
Why is this what he was doing? Why? That's crazy.
I wish I knew, because he's a bad boy. Yeah, so obviously this guy is a complete psychopath, and I knew he was a complete psychopath, but that I was fine with that. Apparently that was what I was used to. It's what I always went back to. And there was one thing that like really was like, okay, I'm so fucking done with you. So I was hanging out with Randy, and I like drop him off at home, and then it was kind of earlier in the night, and like I was like, oh, I don't want to go home. And so I'm talking to his friend, and his friend is like, come chill. So I was like, okay, cool. It was his best friend, and so I didn't think much of it. And so I went over to his house, and we're chilling, we're hanging, and he tries to make a move on me. I'm like,
his best friend?
Yeah, I'm like, what's with all his friends trying to make moves on me? So yeah, his best friend tries to make a move on me, and I like pull back. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you know I'm with Randy, right? And he's like, what? Like, he's dating Angelina. Fake name.
Stop. Randy's dating.
Randy is dating Angelina.
Oh my God.
So I was like, here we go again.
Cool. Try that kiss again.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
I was like, all right, well, may as well.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was really fun. So I ended up calling him that night, and I'm like, so what's this that I'm hearing about you dating Angelina? And he's like denying it, and he's like, what? No, like, just stop talking about this, like, blah, blah, blah. Just basically shoves it under the rug. And so I ended up just like letting it go that night. I'm just like, hey, whatever, I'll see how I feel in the morning. The next day, I was not feeling good about it. And so I was like, I'm gonna message Angelina.
Oh shit.
And so I messaged her. I was like, hey, I'm not sure if you know this, but I've been seeing Randy for X amount of time. I can prove it with like pictures and stuff like that, screenshots. And then she's like, I've been dating Randy for X amount of months. I'm carrying his child. I'm like, this can't get any worse. What do you mean? You're pregnant?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I was like, this is fucking crazy. So she must have like sent him a screenshot of like me telling her this.
Yeah.
Because he calls me and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's losing his mind, and he's like, she's pregnant. You know, if you show her anything, she's going to kill herself because she's super depressed. And so I'm like, what are the chances that she does? I don't want to have that hanging over my head. But he was very good at manipulating me. And I was like, what was your plan here? Like, you're seeing me, you get this other girl pregnant. Like, what was the game plan? What were you thinking? And he's like, oh no, I asked him, I'm like, are you guys gonna have the baby? Like, are you gonna stay in this girl's life? And he's like, no, like, he didn't have plans to stay in her life. But again, that's probably just bullshit. And so I was like, okay. I ended up going over to his house just to be like, what the fuck is happening right now? And I was so done at this point. I was so over it. And I was like, I told him, like, I'm done. Like, this is crazy. Like, how do you expect to take care of a baby when you can't even take care of it yourself? And I left that night. I was basically like, fuck you. And we didn't speak for 5 years. They ended up having the baby. But he's not in this kid's life, like, whatsoever. That's not my story to tell, though. But deadbeat dad.
He can't even pay for his own RuneScape. So, like,
let alone a child.
Yeah.
So yeah, we didn't speak for 5 years, which was like one of the longest times we went without speaking. And I dated somebody else in between that time for 3 years. That was another kind of toxic relationship. It wasn't a good one. So me and this guy, we dated until like mid-September 2020. And it was literally, I'm not even kidding you, it was like a week later of me breaking up with this guy. Because so I had taken out his name out of my bio. I deleted all the pictures that we had of each other. And a week later, this man follows me on Instagram. Randy follows me on Instagram. I'm like, dude.
Makes a comeback.
Yeah. I'm like, have you been watching this whole time? Like, what are the odds?
What a stalker.
Stalker.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds a week after I like take out his name, delete the pictures, and you follow me on Instagram? So I blocked him right away. And he ends up messaging me on this other account. He has another account. He messages me on it. So I'm like, fuck sakes. I actually have the message here.
Oh, I love this.
So the thing with like toxic people is like they know how to rope you back in. And I was very, very vulnerable at this point because I had just broken up with, well, it was kind of mutual. But I was very distraught over it because like I was already a mess at the time. My dad was sick with cancer and like it was not a good time. So I was very, very vulnerable. And this is what he messages me. He says, okay, I know you blocked me already before I had a chance to just send you my message, but I just wanted to apologize for everything. Sorry, I just wanted to apologize for everything I put you through in the past. It bothers me a lot and it affects me quite a bit. I can't believe I put you through any of the bullshit that I did. I'm so sorry, Britlin. You deserve the world. I'm happy to see you excelling in something you've been passionate about for a long time. I wish you the best in life. I was like, I don't know what to do.
You're like, fuck, I'm so sad and upset about this breakup, and you have to say all that?
I know. So I was like, oh, God, do I do it? And so I messaged him back. I said, I wasn't expecting this type of message from you, but thank you. That means a lot. I hope you're doing well. I was just keeping it very neutral. Like, I don't want to, like, say anything I shouldn't say, but we ended up talking a little bit more. And in October, so my dad ended up passing away October 15th of 2020. And I like posted about it, and Randy saw it and he was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up giving him like my number. I was like, I could really use the distraction right now because I'm dealing with a breakup. My dad just died. Like, this is rock bottom.
You're like, Randy, get in here. Randy. I need a distraction.
I need some toxicity in my life. So I let him back in. And like I knew that it was a bad idea. And I'm like, I obviously from all the years, I'm like, I know it probably won't be any different, but just maybe this will be different, because this was the first time he had ever apologized to me for anything. Like, that was the first time I ever got a message like that from him. So it was like, whoa, like, that's a big deal. And the fact that he was like so willing and ready to like be by my side and support me while I was dealing with my dad's death, I was like, hell yeah. And it didn't last long. Like, the toxicity came back pretty quickly. So we were about a month into it, and he goes completely MIA. I can't text him. I can't call him. His social media accounts are deleted. Everything is just gone. He's just like fell off the face of the earth. And I'm like, this is the last thing that I need right now. So a week goes by, and then he texts me. He says, hey, lol. Hey. I'm like,
hey, I'm back.
Yeah.
Missed you.
Yeah, as if like nothing happened. Fuck? And I'm like, I think I said, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, are you fucked?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, what happened? And he's like, I'm going to come pick you up. And I'm like, okay. And so he picks me up in this brand new truck, this very expensive truck. I'm like, what is going on around here? And he's like, yeah, I've just been eating like craft dinner, mac and cheese, gaming, just like doing nothing basically. I'm like, okay. And you had to go MIA because why? He's like, oh, I just like needed some time. And I'm like, that's so incredibly selfish. Because here I am going through all this bullshit, and I let you back in my life with the expectations that you are going to support me, and then you fucking disappear on me. I was like, don't ever do that again. And then it kind of just like slowly escalated. Like he never like brought me over to his place. It was like always an excuse for why I couldn't come over. Cause like I would ask, I'm like, when are you gonna invite me over? Like, what the heck? And again, it was just always an excuse. And this is so stupid, but he would just get mad about like really silly things. So I would bring him over to the gym that I was working at, and I had like this wet piece of paper towel, and I was just like joking around. I was like, he, and like touched him with the wet piece of paper towel, and he lost his shit at me. Like, he was so pissed, and I was just like so taken aback because I'm like, why are you getting so upset? And I think it was because he just wanted to get like a reaction out of me, because I was like, because he like drove off, and I was like texting him. I'm like, what's going on? Like, talk to me, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's what he wanted. He just wanted to get that reaction out of me. I swear to God, this man is bipolar.
But that's a crazy reaction for like something that small.
Yeah.
Like, unless you had a warning and he was like, never hit me with a fucking paper towel or else I'm gonna like leave. It's like, why are you reacting like this?
Why? Literally, I was just like playing around. I'm like, hee, like, boop. Yeah. So I was like, oh God, I'm like, this is getting toxic again. And I remember like we'd be hanging out, and he'd be getting like phone calls from like this other girl. I remember there was this name that I saw, and I was like, I'm gonna ignore that one.
That's just Randy.
Just normal stuff. So yeah, he was not being a very nice person, and I was like, fuck, dude. And this was around the time where I was like, I deserve better, because when my dad died, that was like, it was just like clicked in my brain that I deserved way more from this life, because life is really short and fragile, and I'm not going to waste it away being with miserable people. And so this was like kind of one of the last straws with him, was like him not being supportive during that time. And thank God for my now fiance, Rob, real name. So Rob and I, we started talking around December. It was December 2020. We started talking, and it came to the point where like I knew I had to make a decision, because I was seeing Rob and I was seeing Randy, and it was really scary because I wanted to stay in the known because it was comfortable, whereas Rob was unknown territory. I didn't know what he was about. I didn't know what to expect. That was a lot scarier. And then there was one day where we had like a staff Christmas party. So Rob and I, we worked together at this gym, and we had a staff Christmas party. And I remember Randy texting me. He's like, "You're gonna fuck Rob," like, "Wow, wow, wow," just like being crazy. And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna fuck Rob."
But maybe I am.
Just, but maybe I am. I didn't say that. We did. Obviously I didn't tell him. And so Rob and I, we went on this date, and at the end of the date he ended up kissing me. And this sounds really cheesy and cliche, but it was literally like fireworks that went off. I was like, wow, what is this guy? Like, it was just like the craziest feeling. And it was like an instant where I knew the decision that I had to make, and that was to be with Rob. And so this was close to New Year's. I messaged Randy and I was like, "It's done, buddy. Like, for good. Like, it's done. Like, I don't think this is gonna work." And he took it surprisingly well, but I could tell that he was like really pissed off. But yeah, I remember like after I'd ended things with him, I knew he was still trying to like worm his way back into my life, because he would like text me time to time. He would say like, "Thanks for never doing my eyebrows and breaking my heart again."
Oh my God.
Because he wanted me to do his eyebrows, and I never did his eyebrows. And so I was like, block, delete, goodbye. And so thank God for Rob, because I don't know where I would be without him. And I feel like he really helped me get out of this super toxic relationship, because it was like I almost rathered be in this toxic relationship than be alone. So, yeah, but thank God Rob was there.
Yeah, so he's what helped you get out of it.
Yeah.
Like having that almost, but you almost had to have like a safety net. You were
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to jump right away. I just need to like make sure.
Yeah, I needed a safety net, because I was so vulnerable. I was like, I don't want to be alone. Like, all this crazy shit just happened. Like, it was also COVID. Like, what a weird time. But yeah, Rob, he proved himself that he was worthy of my time and energy, and
now you guys are engaged.
And now we're engaged.
Yay!
We're getting married August 10th.
That's so exciting. Yeah. And just such a nice end to like your complete 10-year red flag. Randy. What a mess. Guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So because you've been through it, I mean, for 10 years, that's a long enough time to be through it. What advice would you give any girls that are going through it or have been through it? Or, yeah, if they're in the middle of that, like, what advice would you give them? Like, if you could look back at yourself and be like, dude.
Trust your gut, because your gut is your second brain. And throughout the whole 10 years, like, I always had this feeling in my gut where I was like, this is wrong. I mean, obviously this is bad. But I ignored all the signs. I ignored my gut. I didn't listen to it. And it ended up getting me really, really hurt and into situations that I shouldn't have been in. And stop ignoring the red flags. They're right in front of you. Like, I know how hard it is to get out of a toxic relationship because, like I said, they say all the right things. They try to pull you back in. But if you're in a place where you really know your worth and you know what you deserve, that really, really helps, because then you can actually see the red flags and understand that, like, you don't deserve that. You deserve way better. And unfortunately, I didn't really discover my self-worth until my dad died. I was like, whoa, I deserve way better from this life. Not that you have to go through something like that to realize your self-worth, but it's just about doing the inner work and yeah, just really knowing that you're a queen.
And sometimes you do have to go through something big.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it does take something really drastic to happen. Like, as much as you don't want, obviously, something like that to happen, but sometimes to know and learn more about yourself, you have to go through stuff.
Yeah. And I was that kind of person. Like, I wouldn't really like learn the thing that I needed to learn unless I went through something drastic. Like with Randy, I knew he was bad for me, but it took 10 years worth of like shit. And for him to do all those things to me, like especially like him getting somebody pregnant and then him going MIA on me, that is like what it took for me to realize that this guy doesn't deserve me. Unfortunately, that's what it took.
You're like, had to go through it.
Had to go through it. Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, everybody's going to learn it in a different way. But yeah, it's safe to get out of a toxic relationship. You'll be okay.
Yeah. I love that. Is there anything else you want to add on the topic? Anything you want to get off your chest?
Fuck Randy.
Perfect way to end. Thank you so much for coming on the Lifted podcast.
Thank you.
And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, you guys. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.